What's going on, folks? I'm Renegade. Today I wanted to kind of talk to you about something that I feel is a very important thing. Now, I realize that my automotive and mechanical production has slowed recently, and it's for a bunch of reasons, and one of which is weather. It's winter here in New Jersey, so it's a little cold, and days like today it's windy as all hell. And, you know, life gets in the way. I mean, I spoke in a previous video about the fact that I had a big septic issue at my house, which needed to take, that needed to take priority. And then some of the cleanup and the projects that whole can of worms opened, that had to be priority and took precedence. And so I haven't been able to work on things like the motorcycles and the cars as much as I'd like to. But on top of that, I just started a new job. Now, I've said many times that, YouTube doesn't pay the bills. And unfortunately, bills and the cost of, working on projects like the motorcycles and the cars, they all take a monetary toll. So, I do have a normal job. Now, last year, I was working at a campground doing maintenance. This year, I was going to go back because it's a seasonal job, unfortunately. That's the way it is with a lot of jobs here in Cape May. But I got a better offer for a better job. The fun thing of it, and the kind of funny thing of it, is actually that it's a new job, but it's at an old location. It's actually the place I used to work way back. I mean, this is one of my first jobs, or at least the place where I'm working was one of the first places I worked way back in 2005, 2006. So it's kind of funny to go full circle like that, but it made me think. Now, I am by nature kind of an anxious person, so there's a little bit of stress that goes into, hey, I'm starting a new job somewhere I used to work. I mean, I always have stress with a new job, but this is a little different when it's, okay, I'm going to this place where I used to work. Not only do I have to make a good impression, but I have to make a really good impression because I am returning and I want to show how much better I am than I was back then. Now, let's face it, last time I worked there I was kind of a stupid kid, so it is what it is. But it made me think a little bit. So for the last several years, well, basically my entire working history, I've worked a myriad of different jobs. I've worked in retail. I was the freight crew leader or stock manager, whatever you want to call it, at a Five Below. I worked at an AutoZone. I worked pumping gas for a little while. I briefly worked in an arcade. That sucked. I wouldn't suggest that job. But one of the jobs that I've done probably the most would be maintenance. I've worked at a couple campgrounds doing maintenance. I worked at a hotel. I worked at a couple of hotels actually doing maintenance. Even when I worked for my county library, I worked maintenance. And it's because it's something that I greatly enjoy. Sure, I know that it's rough on my body, and at times it can be extremely stressful when you're trying to fix something before guests come in and you gotta go. But ultimately, it's something I greatly enjoy. I love working with my hands. I love the problem shooting and diagnosing things and trying to figure out how to make something work. Sometimes just trying to jerry-rig it, just like, if you got a guest in a room, they're there for one more day, you've got a problem that you can rig to get it by so they can finish their stay before you embark on a multi-hour project to actually properly fix it. That type of thing I really enjoy. But there's another aspect of it, which is really my point of this video. I love learning. Now, when I was in school, I don't want to say I was the worst student, but I wasn't a great student. Mostly it was because I didn't want to do the homework. I didn't want to do the work, but I wanted to learn the stuff. So I didn't really study a whole lot, and I certainly didn't do my homework, which is, well, my grades certainly reflected that. But you know, I mean, in school, it kind of is what it is, that type of thing. It was after school that I learned more. Like once I was done school, out of a strict formed curriculum. And that's not to say that school is bad. You know, if you're studying for certain things, you know, you want to be a doctor, you want to be a lawyer. Obviously you need to go to school, an architect, you know, but certain things you can learn outside of school. And whether it's for a career or whether it's for just your own enjoyment. So when I started working at this hotel where I'm working now, I was the pool attendant. And that meant learning how to work on pools. And I was already starting at this point to learn how to work on things like, I mean, been working on bicycles for years because that was my mode of transportation. I was learning how to work on cars just so I could get my car, like, I could use it, you know. Brakes wear out, you got to replace the brakes. I had a water pump blow up, so I needed to learn how to replace a water pump. Things like that. And I just got a motorcycle, so I was learning how to work on that a little bit, you know. That motorcycle was actually the XS400 that I started the build series on, but I haven't really gone any farther with it. But it will be coming back soon, I promise. So I started working with my hands, but I didn't know a whole lot. And believe it or not, working on pools kind of touches into that realm of working with your hands. It's not just vacuuming, it's also things like adjusting the chemicals and balancing them, which kind of goes with your basic maintenance, checking fluids like in a car. And if something went wrong, you know, you notice that the vacuum pressure wasn't enough, and you know, if the tank pressure wasn't proper, you had to figure out why and fix it. And if the chlorinator wasn't pumping chlorine, why? Let's fix that. And it kind of gave me a basic building block. Which then years later, I got another maintenance job. And the reason I got that job was because I knew how to work on pools. And from that job, or during that job, I was able to learn more. I learned light electrical, I learned light plumbing, how to fix sewer and septic lines, which now I'm glad I know how to do because that's what I'm gonna be doing in my backyard. I've got to dig up my septic line and replace the entire friggin' thing from the house all the way to the tank. You know, so I learned some stuff at the first job at the hotel. Then I moved on to a campground where I was able to learn more. Like I said, electrical, plumbing, landscaping, you know, all this type of stuff. Years later, I was able to get another maintenance job using that as my foundation, and I learned more there. I learned more about light fixtures and the ballasts and what lighting is appropriate for what place. Carried it on, and now I'm working in another hotel where, again, I've used all those bits as a foundation and was given the opportunity to learn even more. That's something that I really enjoy, and that's the reason I take on these jobs. You know, like I said, I love working with my hands. I love the problem, you know, the diagnosing and the troubleshooting and all this stuff. But each job I've been able to learn more from. And then once I've learned, I can keep that knowledge and I can build on it even more the next job and next opportunity. I realize to some people this might sound a little weird and a little like, okay, it's just about a job and it's kind of a very niche thing, you know. I work in the maintenance field. I probably will continue to work in the maintenance field until I don't have to work anymore. And even then, I'll be working on the cars and the motorcycles and all that stuff. But it's those building blocks and those foundations of what I learned in my 9-to-5 jobs that I then can carry on to working on the cars and working on the motorcycles, and more specifically, working on my house. Because the stuff here is not cheap to fix. Like, I mean, as I said, I'm digging up a septic line, and I have to replace that all. Now, if I had somebody come in and do it, dig up the line, replace it, you gotta make sure it's at the right pitch. That's the angle which the pipe sits at. Remember, shit rolls downhill, so it has to be pitched right. If I didn't know all that, and I had someone come in to do it, it would cost me a few $1,000s. I mean, it's like 40 foot of line that I have to dig up. That's expensive. And then the replacement and all that stuff. So I'm saving myself a bunch of money by being able to do it. I mean, in the end, this is going to cost me maybe $100 in terms of parts. You know, the piping, and I think I need to get a sump pump at some point to help basically clear out any rainwater and everything like that, and anything that might come out of the pipe. But because I have the knowledge, I can do it myself. The other night, we had an electrical issue, a minor one, but I was able to fix it and fix it properly in like half an hour's time, and I think I bought a work box for like less than 10 bucks, and that was it. Because of what I know, what I learned in previous jobs, in previous experiences, I can use that to better my life, save myself a bunch of money, which is always good, but I don't need to rely on somebody, and I can use that knowledge to make things better here. That to me is one of the greatest things. The ability to learn, having the opportunity, I should say, having the opportunity to learn, and then having the opportunity to just carry that forward. Trust me, you always want to learn. I'm still learning. I will be learning until the day I die. You know, I'm not the brightest person in the world. I will never say I am. You know, I am of an average intellect, I suppose. I don't know. I've never taken an IQ test. But I will continue learning, because that's the fun part, and that's the important part. And like I said, you can use that to carry forward and use it in so many different ways. I would never be where I am today. You know, I've said it before, this is an old house that I live in. It's from 1880, which means there's a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed because it wasn't properly taken care of before. If I didn't know how to work on houses, I couldn't have this house. I'd have to go out and buy some modern house and pay somebody to do any repairs that pops up, or I'd be so far in debt and up to my eyeballs in bills for having to have this house fixed by professionals. The same with the cars. I wouldn't be daily driving cars from the late 80s and the early 90s, like my Volvos, or like the Porsche. Well, I wouldn't own the Porsche if I didn't know how to work on it. Same with the motorcycles, you know. I realize some people have the money to do that, and that's the route they go, and that's great for them, you know. Hey, I'm not bashing it. Me in my current situation, and what I would assume probably a lot of my viewers are, I'm not rich. I work paycheck to paycheck, live paycheck to paycheck, just like everyone else. Or at least like the majority of people. So a lot of the stuff that I have, I wouldn't have the opportunity to have and to do if it weren't for the ability to learn and build on it. Most of America are lower class, lower middle class. You work to survive. But if you can learn and carry knowledge forward, you can make things better. Sure, maybe you don't want to work with your hands. I'm going to assume the majority of you do, because this is predominantly an automotive channel. So there's at least some working with your hands involved. But even if it's not that, if you want to do something else with your life, maybe you're in the medical field, maybe you're in, whatever field. It doesn't matter. If you learn something and you're able to build on it and learn more, take every opportunity you have to learn something, you can then better yourself. And maybe it just means having a better foundation to move up to a bigger and better job, which allows you better comforts. Like I said, I will always continue to learn. I will always be trying to learn more. And like when I go on a job interview for a maintenance job, quite often they'll ask, do you know how to do this? Do you know how to do this? And if there's something that I don't know how to do, I'll tell the person flat out. I'll be honest. No, I don't know how to do that. But I'm certainly willing to learn. I'm eager to learn. Now, maybe if it's something like when I interviewed at the campground, they asked me if I had ever changed out breakers, because we'd be having to change out 50 amp breakers, which are very, very dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. And I told the guy flat out, no, I've never changed a breaker in my life, but I've changed out outlets, I've changed out switches. So, I mean, I can't imagine it's so much different, and I'm eager to learn. If you show me, I'll learn it, and we can just move forward. So I took the chance to learn, and that was a big seller for him, was the fact that, like, just because I didn't know, didn't mean that I wouldn't learn. So not only do I learn from every experience that I have, but I'm also eager and looking forward to the next opportunity to learn. And it can lead to some cool places. I'm sitting here with a Porsche in my driveway and an R6 sitting here and a classic motorcycle that I'm rebuilding from the frame up in the back. And I've got old cars, and all because I was able to learn and build on things. I'm now working what should be, and certainly on paper, is a pretty good job. And that's because, again, I built on my education. Maybe not my school education. I would have had to have gone to an entirely different school to learn how to work on things like electrical. I went to a basic high school. But I was able to learn things in my self-education, and then continue to build on it and build on it and build on it and learn more and build on it and learn more. Now, I'm in a much better place in terms of a job. So that's my takeaway for you guys. Learn. Take every opportunity you can to learn something and keep learning. Maybe that doesn't mean read a ton of books to learn. Maybe it does. You want to learn from books, that's great. But it could also just be learning how to work on something. Something breaks, maybe try and figure out how it works. If you can work on a car, if you can take something apart like that and then put it back together and figure out what's wrong, then you can also do it with other things. Plumbing, if you can take it apart, you can put it back together, you can fix the problem. Maybe don't shy away from that challenge. Be surprised what that type of thing can lead your life to be. So I hope this video helps people. I hope it inspires people to do just that. And maybe you can use learning and continuing to learn and not shying away from challenges as a way to better your life too. It worked for me. It worked for tons of other people. Hopefully it works for you. That can be it for me for today. It was just something in my head that I thought would be something great to share with you guys and hopefully, you know, help inspire somebody. Very soon, hopefully when the wind cuts down, I'll be able to work on things again. I gotta get a battery for the R6 and I got parts coming for the Porsche. Yeah, and I still got the big project on the Volvo, which I will be beginning fairly soon. Yeah. So if you like the content, if you're looking forward to the projects, make sure you hit subscribe, hit the notification bell so you get notified when I upload a new video. And until next time, y'all keep rocking and rolling. I'm gonna keep taking care of business. I'll see you next one.